What is up, guys? MiniBean75 here, and today I am back with a brand new build. I know it's been a while since I built anything, but this one has just been on my mind for the longest time, so I finally decided this is the time to get it done. This is I'm calling it a Treehouse City. Basically, the way I looked at it was, you play Minecraft and you see the villages that villagers live in, and for the most part, they live kind of crappy. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to build a big old village that's going to keep the villagers safe from all the wonders of what happens in Minecraft. And yeah, and I think it turned out pretty awesome. So this is what it looks like, guys. Here you can kind of see the full version of it. We're going to kind of go through a few different parts of it, but for the most part, I'm going to put it up for download so you guys can go and play it and get to experience it for yourselves. So let's get into it. First off, we're going to go over to what I call the start of this village. Basically, there's only one way that you can get from the ground up into the actual trees. I just have to remember where exactly that spot is. It's a specific point right here. Okay, so this ladder right here, if you're down on the ground and you walk up on this whole thing and you're like, good Lord, what in the hell they got going on here? This is the only way to get from the ground up into the trees. So we're going to take this little ladder up here, and the first thing we're going to see is there's actually a bunch of these. These I basically made my own water reclaimers. With the new update, you can use the stalagmite or stalactite, whichever one goes down. You can use those, and that'll actually drip water into a cauldron. So I went through just for looks. I filled the cauldrons with water, but I believe to make it work right, you'd have to actually have a block of water above these. But, honestly, for the sake of how this looks, I think it looks good. So, yeah, like I said, we've got a bunch of those around. As you can see, we've got some there, some over there. This is basically so that the entire village can continue to get fresh water. We've got a couple different farm plots. Like here we've got one, and on each of the plots, for the most part, it's all the same. There's some beets, some carrots, some potatoes, some wheat, some different melons, stuff like that. And like I said, yeah, there's a couple of them. There's a little smaller one over there. There's one over there. I think there's one over here somewhere. I don't know for sure. It's like I said, it's kind of a mess. But yet the villagers seem to be pretty happy. So yeah, we've got our farm plots there. Over here we can take a look at one of the few places where the villagers will actually sleep. For the most part, in the entire place, it's all kind of community housing. Because they're a pretty, I look at them as a pretty close community. So we've got a bunch of these different houses that they've just got beds, some books, barrels for storage, stuff like that. Let's pop up over here. I believe this is another one. Oh, no, actually, this is going to be the library. So they're also, this group of villagers, they're also pretty well read for the most part. So there is actually a villager that would normally work here in the library, making sure that everybody, knows what books they're getting, if it's good or not. They want to stay well educated because, for the most part, they are completely secluded from the entire world. So that was kind of my thought process on that. Here's going to be another community sleeping area. We can go down here. This is going to be, I think there's 3 of these. This is basically going to be, it's a potion brewing station. But the way that I looked at it was, you're off doing whatever your task is for the community. You're going to want to have some drinks from time to time. So the way I look at this is a bar. Everybody likes to go, blow off a little steam, go have a drink. And with Minecraft, you never know what kind of potion you're going to get. So I would imagine drinking night in this community is a pretty good time. And here is one of my favorite parts that I did. There's a few of these set up, and they all look the same. They've got, let me close that. They've all got a couple different doors on each side. And when you walk into this is going to be the outhouse. Because everybody knows after you eat too much food or you drink too much, you got to go potty. So basically the way this thing is, you walk in and we flip this bad boy up, and this is that down there, that's where the poop goes. You kind of do your squat, do whatever, and it goes in there. You got some leaves right here to wipe up your tuchus. We've got a little sink here to kind of wash your hands. We've got a barrel for some extra storage, and we've got some candles in there. So, yeah, I absolutely love this. I think it's a really cool touch that I put in to keep it, as realistic as Minecraft can get. But basically, if you can't figure out what those are composters. So I figured when you put the composter in the floor like that, With the trapdoor, we've kind of got a seat, and then you put some, I think I put beets in here, but whatever piece of crop, basically, or whatever, you can put that in there, and it'll fill up, and it looks like there's some poop in the old outhouse. And then the thought is that they take those, and then they use that for manure for the farm areas. So basically they farm in their own crap. But that's what you got to do if you want to have a fully sustainable colony, basically. And that's what they've got going here. So let's kind of veer over here a little bit. I think there's another one of the bars there. We've got some sections here that just have chests on them because they just need some sort of storage. So I think the thought process is they have them underneath the trees. That should keep everything dry because that would obviously be a pretty big problem in a situation like this. But yeah, so they use that for storage. Up here, we've got, that's just another house area. There's a villager. Hello. And then over here, this is the one building that's actually different. This is basically going to be where it's pretty much a cartography building, but this is where they're going to build maps and stuff like that. Maybe this is where they're going to write books. It's a very specific building that only one villager or a couple villagers would work in. On the back side, there's a ladder that goes up here. We are going to go up this ladder because this is a pretty important room. This is where the leader of the entire colony will stay. So to try to keep it as safe as possible, the only way to get up there is on that ladder. And then everything up here. So it keeps it pretty private for the leader and potentially his wife, spouse, whatever you want to call it. Because he's not really, I wouldn't think of him as like a king because it's a pretty free roaming colony. But for the most part, we still need somebody who still runs the show. And he's even got his own outhouse in his little area. And he's actually got a couple little windows for some ventilation like the other ones don't. So he does have a couple things that are, a little bit better than the average. But for the most part, that's how this colony would work. There's not anybody who's going to be just above and beyond better than anybody else. And then over here, where I'm going to show one of three. These are basically going to be our production areas. For the most part, it's going to be a lot of, if we look into it, for the most part, it's a lot. We've got blast furnaces here. We've got some lava and some water. Basically, this is where they're going to be crafting up their armor and tools and stuff like that. This would probably be the hardest job of really anybody in the actual colony. But it's a very important job because, they're a pretty peaceful civilization, so they don't really get attacked much, but just in case if they do, they've got to make sure they're ready. They're still going to need tools and whatnot. Over here is going to be, this is where the butcher's going to be, and I really like how this turned out. So on each of the four sides, we've got a sword, so that's going to be like a big knife. We've got an axe, and then we've got different types of raw animal meat, and then basically, we've got a couple cauldrons here for washing stuff, and then we've got the big barrels. Basically, those are going to be for storage. And then if we go, there's another one I really want to show you right here. There's about 4 or 5 of these around the entire place. They're just on the smallest platforms. Now, you're probably thinking, well, Bean, you've got a butcher, but the meat's not going to stay good for that long. Well, we got it covered, and he did it for me. This is a smoker. So we've got a couple of these in here. The way I did these is we've got campfires underneath, and then we've got trapdoors on top. Basically, the whole thought of this is you're going to take that raw meat in here. They're going to hang it up in here, close the door, and it's just going to smoke that meat until it basically, you've got beef jerky, rabbit jerky, really whatever. And that's going to be a majority of the protein that they eat is going to come from that. Because they're still going to have to go get meat. They're still going to catch fish. And I've actually got a couple different spots I can show you where the fish catching happens. Here's a small one. But down here is going to be a little bit bigger one across the way because we had to go somewhere where there was a river, obviously. But you can come in here, hop in. You can grab a fishing pole. I'm not going to actually do it, but you could grab a fishing pole, and then you go right here, and then I'll fly up a little bit just so that you can kind of see. Well, maybe not. I can't get out. But this is basically where you'd stand on the edge, and you're going to cast your pole out, and then that's going to go all the way down to the river, and then you're going to be pulling fish up from the river. And then we've got one on this side, too. I think this one, there's actually a little bit better of a trajectory. You still got to cast out a little ways. But, yeah, so for the most part, this whole place is going to be completely self-sufficient, which that's kind of what my goal was. And I love how this looks at night, the way it glows. Oh, my God. I think it looks so cool. But yeah, I wanted something that was going to be as realistic as possible for the sake of Minecraft, and I thought it'd be a really cool idea to put a bunch of villagers up here, and I spawned a bunch up, and I have not seen a single one down on the ground yet. So clearly they like where they're at right now. And I believe the last thing that I need to show that's going to be different from everything else is going to be, this is where the baker works. So the baker one is pretty cool too. And I kind of forgot to do these on some of them, depending on how they looked, but we've got a little door there so you can walk in. And in the baker's area, obviously, we've got our furnaces. This is our ovens. This is going to be where they're going to be baking all this stuff. But we've got some cakes that obviously these are, these are specialty items. We've got some cookies and some pumpkin pies. But the big one is going to be bread because obviously everybody loves bread. And when you're living in a society like this, bread is one of those things that's going to make every meal better that you're not normally going to get to have. So that's what I decided to go with there. So there's a couple different baking stations around. And I believe that is about it for the different stations. A lot of them are, like I said, it's a whole big colony, so you can't just have one baker. You can't just have one manufacturing area. You can't have just one bar. So you got to, I just had to kind of figure out the best way to put them all together so that it would all work. And for the most part, I think it works. So if you guys like this video, definitely hit the like button down below. I most definitely appreciate it. If you want to take a look at my Patreon, online store, social medias, all those links are going to be down in the description. But mainly, I just want you guys to tell me what you think of this build and if there are other builds you want me to do. I know for the last couple months here, I haven't worked on any builds at all. I was just focusing more on funny gameplay content, which I'm still going to keep doing. But I still like to build, when I'm feeling like building. I didn't like it where I was kind of forced to have to build a specific thing. Really, it was just stadiums and arenas. I know a lot of you guys were brought to my channel because of those, and some people would say I'm completely stupid to stop doing those. But I started YouTube to be creative and get to just kind of do what I want to do, and I was not able to do that when I had to continue to just be forced to kind of build specific things that the audience wanted. Now, that doesn't mean that all those different builds are going to go away. It doesn't mean that I'm never going to build a stadium again or I'm never going to build an arena again. I just want to be able to utilize, some of my talents and creative vision to build cool stuff like this. In my opinion, this is cooler than almost any stadium that I've ever built. So let me know, like I said, what you guys think, and if there's anything cool that's just really out there that's not what you'd call ordinary or normal that you guys want to see me build, because I can most definitely do that. I had a ton of fun making this, and I'm kind of back into the idea of building just cool stuff like this. And aside from that, if you have any suggestions on any funny games or gameplay, like Minecraft maps or games or Roblox or whatever, if there's anything you guys want to see me and Chip play, definitely let me know that down in the comments as well, because I'm always down for new ideas. Aside from that, guys, I just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a good one.